Hello and welcome to the first lesson on descriptive writing. Today I'm going to focus on weather and setting, and I'm going to hopefully give you a few ideas on things to think about that are going to help you with your descriptive writing. Today's focus, as I said, is weather, and you can't really detach the weather from the setting. Where it takes place and what that weather is like is definitely going to have an impact on the plot and the atmosphere of the story. So looking at those three images there, which we're going to go into a little bit more detail on in a moment, every different story will have its own weather that will have an impact on the plot and the atmosphere. So the first photograph that we have there, you'll surely spot this lightning creating a sense of anger, maybe a sense of aggression, those dark stormy clouds up at the top of the screen, and even the darkness that surrounds the whole landscape that's there in front of you, creating a particular atmosphere. Now this is a still from Minecraft. You will probably know far more about it than I do. And I put this one up there just to get you thinking about how, for example, there is a way on Minecraft to turn off the weather settings or to change the weather. And the reason for that is because the weather adds challenge. So if you think about computer games, and if the weather adds challenge, then it's probably going to create a sense of discomfort within a story as well. The same in Fortnite. When you look at this image from Fortnite, in your game plans and the way that you set up a particular game, you can choose to have fog, for example. And here the fog obviously creates a sense of mystery as you look off into into what's in front of you. You can't see it. You don't know what enemies might lie ahead. You don't know what challenges lie ahead. That's why weather often creates that sense of mystery for us. It's in computer games, it should be in your stories. And one of the key points that I want to make is that when you think about the games that you play, the movies that you watch, and the books that you read, try and steal ideas from them, because that's already in your imagination, and that should be your starting point. Next one, very relevant at the moment. As you're getting your daily exercise, hopefully around you, you will see these rainbows in people's windows. You may have some in your own windows as well. And what they do is they offer us a bit of hope at the moment. And I think everyone knows that we're stuck inside in our houses, and that's why you're having these lessons online. But a rainbow can be this colourful offer of hope at a time of great challenge. In this image, you can see at the top of the screen the dark clouds. Below the rainbow, it seems much brighter. So you've got that contrast between the positivity and the negativity. And if you look at this picture, have a think, which one is winning? For me, the top half is almost being pushed away. In fact, it's not a half, it's more of a third or a quarter even at the top. And all the brightness at the bottom is pushing away. So there's a message in there through the weather that's being put on, through the light being used as well. Okay, so this one is straight away. What a burst of freedom. What a sense of peacefulness and tranquility. So this story would be completely different to any of the previous ones that we've looked at. A sense of serenity, a sense of tranquility. Now, complete contrast. Back to where we started. That sense of evil, that sense of threat, almost like a beast rising up above the land. The forks of lightning being thrown like spears, essentially. So that's what I want you thinking about, and this one in particular ties into one of the key terms that we're going to be looking at today. So key vocabulary, a few things that you need to have, a few things that you need to either familiarize yourself with, or you may know already and you're refreshing. Pathetic fallacy, semantic fields, we're going to have definitions of these in a moment, and I'll give you that. And I want to introduce you to some new words. To me, writing, language, English is all about words, new words. Have a look at these, some of my favorite words, and all of these in a semantic field of darkness and a sense of suffering. So lugubrious, tenebrous, ominous, sinister, and oppressive. I'll give you definitions for those in a moment. The next set, much more in a semantic field of positivity. So we've got majestic, radiant, benevolent, illuminating, scintillating. And what I'm going to ask you to do is when I bring it on to the next slide, I'll ask you to pause the YouTube video and let's get these notes down. I've got the definitions for each one, and I think that that's a really important starting point. So when I go on to the next slide, I'll ask you to pause it, and then I'd like you to take down the notes. And this is basically putting together the building blocks or the ingredients that we need to do our piece of descriptive writing. Okay, you may have known the definitions of some of those terms and words. You definitely do now because they're in front of you. I won't read through each one. What I'd like you to do is to, as I said, pause the video now and get these notes down. When you've got those taken down, just press play again and I'll be continuing with the descriptive writing task. So pause and let's get these notes down. Off you go. Okay, what we've got here is a picture or an image, and quite often when you're asked to do a descriptive writing task, you're given an image as a starting point. This one I've chosen with a solitary figure, and again, what I need you to do, this time only taking 30 seconds or so, pause the video as soon as I finish speaking and write down all the ideas that come to you in the first 30 seconds to a minute or so. Pause, write down your ideas. Okay, if you're back on again, 30 seconds, you've got a few ideas. It might be something like these ones that I've got here. So there are some of the ideas that I just thought of as I saw this picture for the first time. We've got someone who's alone, a solitary child. Is it a girl? Is it a boy? We don't know, but we'll have to decide. Lines of trees. I thought they were like guards on either side of her, intimidating her, like soldiers possibly in a war zone. On the ground, it's wet. We've got rain, we've got splashes. So all I'm doing is coming up with these ideas. We've got mist and fog in the distance. We've got shadows and the silhouettes of trees. We've possibly got the sounds of rain and wind and whispering. I like the idea of whispering because it adds that sense of the sinister to a story. So that's a set of ideas that you could use. What I'd like you to think about now is not just the content, but how you write it. So have a look at these suggestions for how you would put together sentence starters. Okay, so you've got the ideas in the top section there. Just thoughts, feelings, your imagination when you look at that picture. I've taken out our 5 words. You've got those definitions written down from the previous slide. And now I want you thinking about these sentence openers. So sentence openers are very important when putting the structure together of your sentences, obviously. So what I've given you here are a few different options. You could, for example, look at ing and ly openings. So that's the sobbing, desperately. The sobbing is your verb, your ing, desperately your adverb. Sobbing desperately, she trudged through the wet ground, whatever it might be. So in this, you've got the ing and the ly, the verb and the adverb, and then you have to focus on the subject of the sentence, she. I'm calling it a girl in this case. Or simply start the next one with an ly opening, an adverb. Suddenly the fog descended from the trees or from the sky, something like that. You could also choose to start sentences with 2 adjectives, such as tired and frightened, comma, the little girl. And those commas are very important. You might notice them after each initial clause, the adverbial clause at the start, or in this case, the 2 adjectives at the start. You have a simile opening as an option. And what I would suggest you do is you try and use these different sentence openers throughout your paragraphs in descriptive writing. Like oppressive soldiers, the trees stood intimidatingly on either side of her, something like that. Now, the red one at the bottom is very much for those of you who are looking to push yourself that bit further. 1-word sentences, hugely impacting. Maybe use of semicolon and dashes, that next level up again. Examiners, readers will always want to see that change to break the monotony, and to improve the structure of the story that they are reading. So what I'll ask you to do now is I want you to write a short descriptive piece based on this image. It doesn't have to be a story, it can be just a descriptive piece, but don't start listing what's in the image. That's not going to be a good description. It could be just a part of a story, maybe using the ideas that I've put there about an alone, a child who is alone, or a solitary child, a girl or boy, then maybe the lines of trees. Put those ingredients together using the openings and aiming for the red at the bottom, the aspire. I'm going to give everyone maybe 10 minutes. If you'd like to do that, pause the video for 10 minutes using these ingredients and put together a piece of descriptive writing. So that's what I'd like you to do now. Spend 10 minutes trying to put something together and click play when you've got that done in about 10 minutes time. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you went off and you did a little bit of descriptive writing yourself. What I wanted to do was to give you something where you could look at my short sample and possibly get another idea from it. So I said, in terms of aspire, look at those three first sentences: alone, full stop; isolated, full stop; vulnerable, full stop. Three impacting one-word sentences. We don't always think of doing that, so that's a good way to start. Or you could put that into the middle of a piece of writing as well. It's always something that's going to make it that little bit different and that little bit more engaging. I then went on, sobbing desperately. A small figure stumbled across the rocky ground, her feet struggling to grip the muddy surface beneath her. Now I got to that point and I said, I want to use a semicolon. So I put the semicolon in as the end of that part of the sentence, or that sentence. And then I needed another full sentence afterwards, because a semicolon needs full independent clauses on either side of it. A river seemed to be forming where the road had once been, and now she could feel the full oppressive power of the rain as it, whatever it might have done. Now, I have no problem with you pausing the video again and maybe taking a bit of my idea, because I assure you, I have stolen ideas on this from other writers that I have seen and read over the years. That's the only way I think to get better, is to take ideas from other people, other writers, is what I should have said if I didn't, other writers over the years. So you can pause, and then I'm going to show you another piece of a different type of weather, and I'll speak to you when you get back. So pause now if you like and you want to up-level your work, and I'll see you on the next slide. Okay, welcome back. So this one is completely different. This is the other side, essentially. This is creating contrast. So if you look at the picture here straight away, this time I'm going to push through a little bit quicker. I don't want to keep you too long, but I want to give you that time and you understand what the format of this is now. So we've got an image of a girl walking through with what looks like either a fishing net, or in this case with the meadows, I would imagine a butterfly net. So she's possibly chasing after butterflies. The sun is shining, the skies are blue, the clouds are billowing across, but they're light fluffy ones, and I'll come back to that in a moment just to give you a bit of vocabulary when it comes to clouds. So my thoughts when I came to this one, you could have had something similar. She's alone again, but this time free and excited. The smile on her face is considerably different to the dark atmosphere of the previous image we used. The grass, soft, luscious and green beneath her feet. And I'd imagine, even though I can't see it, I can imagine a light breeze blowing through her hair. Then I looked up at the sky and I saw those clouds, and I used one of my new words, the benevolent, this idea of the clouds being kind and gentle and caring. Nothing is aggressive in this particular picture. Benevolent cumulus clouds drifted across the skies. In this case, I'm using a geography word to name the clouds, and that's a piece of advice that I'll give on the next line as well. Trees dotted across the meadows, name them. Name the clouds. I've got that word from a geography lesson that I've seen. The trees, off the top of my head, I know oak, sycamore, beech. You don't need to know more than that. I'm sure you do, but all you need is three. Actually name them. And I will say again, with these pictures, they're only as stimulus, or to give you ideas. It doesn't have to be perfectly like what's there. We've got our series of 5 words. We've got majestic, radiant, benevolent, illuminating, and scintillating. You have the definitions from the notes. Again, I've asked you to think about how you structure your sentences. So this time, you're doing the exact same thing, but with a completely different atmosphere. So the previous dark, gloomy, wet weather created a much more lugubrious atmosphere. Now we've got this radiant and benevolent scene where the sun is illuminating the meadows that the girl is walking through. Therefore, our atmosphere is completely different. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully I've given you a few ideas. You might want to go back through the video to check some ideas out, but these points should give you a good idea on how to develop your descriptive writing. Thank you, and see you the next time.